Hello students, welcome to the lecture. In the previous lecture, we had started to discuss about the static part of the ancient history. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the same topic, but today we are going to discuss some other facts of this topic. Okay, so that we could have a better understanding of the facts and figures before we face the examination. Okay, so let's start. So first thing today which we are going to study is the Mauryan age inscription. Okay, it is the part third. First part was about the time period. Second part was about the court poets. And it is about the third part of the ancient history. Now this part is the Mauryan age inscriptions. Okay, but before started about this topic, I would like to ask you one question. Are you able to tell me what is sculpture and what is inscription? Can you tell me what is sculpture and what is inscriptions? Okay, just taking example, like if we both are meet, I am your teacher, you are my student, we both meet and I give you two things, whether it's A and B. Okay, and now I'm asking you, okay, just tell me Mr. XYZ and Miss XYZ, what is the scripture and what is the inscription? Okay, what is the sculpture and what is the inscription? Again, I have asked you. Now, how will you able to tell me the correct answer? Like, so this one is the sculpture and this was the inscriptions. I have given you two things, A and B. Then how will you able? So, you will be only able to answer this question to me only if you know about it. Okay. If you know what do you mean by sculpture and if you know what do you mean by inscriptions. Right. So basically, we can say the inscriptions are writings on solid things. Okay. Whereas the sculptures are 3D embedded figures. Okay, so basically we could say inscriptions are the writings on solid things, maybe the rock, maybe the wall, maybe the iron pillars, whereas the sculptures are the 3D embedded figures. Okay, maybe the statue and maybe the some paintings which is 3D in the shape. Okay, so if you find that A is belong to this class and B is belong to this class. Okay, so I don't think that you will take a long time to tell me, okay sir, this is the sculpture, this is the inscriptions, because now you have got the clarity what do you mean by inscriptions and what do you mean by sculptures. Okay, so now let's start this topic. I hope I had cleared this thing in your mind that what do you mean by the sculpture and what do you mean by the inscription. Okay, so basically the inscriptions are the Mauryan age. Sorry, the inscriptions of the Mauryan age are crucial historical artifacts, provide valuable insights into the governance, administration, and cultural milieu of one of the earliest empire, which is the Mauryan Empire. The Mauryan Empire time period we had already discussed, who was founded by Chandragupta Maurya, and now the great ruler was the Ashoka the Great. Okay, so basically the Mauryan age inscriptions particularly deals only about Ashoka. Deals only about the Ashoka particularly. Got it? So let's move forward. So now they are known as the edicts of Ashoka basically. Okay, the most famous Mauryan inscriptions are the edicts of Ashoka who were embedded by the Ashok. Okay, which were inscribed on various stone pillars and rock surfaces throughout the empire. Or you can say, if this is the Mauryan Empire, okay, everywhere you will find the pillars, the walls, and which having the teachings and the writings of the Ashoka the Great. Got it? So basically, the question is, what was the need for these things? Okay, how that all was started. So if we want to understand the thing, first of all, we understand the major fact, and the fact is Pataliputra versus Kalinga. Pataliputra is present in Bihar, Kalinga is present in Odisha. Okay, so what was happened? Let me tell you the story in short. Okay, what was happened? Ashoka was the ruler of that time of Pataliputra. Okay, when he was expanded the empire. At the same time, the Kaling, which is present day Odisha, was getting the power. Okay, and remember when there are two powerful empires just side by side, because if you look at the map, then Bihar and Odisha are not so far away. Okay, and at that time the Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh areas were not accessed, so you can say the Bihar was almost touching the Odisha. Similarly, the Odisha was almost touching the Bihar. Okay, so this growing of power brought these two empires together in the war situation, in which Ashoka emerged as victorious. Okay, so basically, these two superpowers of that time, the Mauryan Empire, which was the Pataliputra, and the Kalinga, which was the Odisha, they both started fighting with each other, and then in the end, Ashoka got victorious. Okay, but several things were happened which changed Ashoka. First is the death count of the war. Second was property loss. Third was loss of the state. And the fourth was social disruptions. Okay, so basically these were the four factors primarily who changed Ashoka. Okay, when he saw that how many people gave up their life in this battle because the Pataliputra and Kalinga wanted a power, and because of this curse of power, they both starting fight with each other, and many people had to sacrifice their lives. Okay, so this particularly was the first reason. Second reason, when he saw the loss of property. Okay, many people lost their homes, many people lost their businesses, many people lost their farmlands, many people had to migrate from their cities and villages to the remote areas. Okay, in search of safety. So he saw the property loss. Third thing was loss of the state. Because to fight the war, it requires a huge money. The Ashokan empire had to invest more and more in funding of the war. Okay, but they got nothing so much in return, because the kingdom which they were aspiring to acquire was got damaged in this war. Okay, so there was a huge loss of the state. And the fourth and the primary one was the social disruptions. When he saw many people died, when he saw many people had to migrate, when he saw there was a loss of the state, then he find that there was a social depression, and on that time he decided no to war. No to war. Okay. Now many people claim that the Ashoka gave up the fighting. No, he didn't. He didn't give the fighting, but he stopped the fighting. Okay, and he changed the policy from he changed the policy from Bhairi Gosha to Dharam Ghosha. Okay, Bhairi Gosha was war strategy to Dharam Ghosha, which was welfare strategy. Okay, so he changed his war strategy to the welfare strategy, but he did not give up the war. Okay, he didn't become the saint. He was still the ruler, but he didn't want to fight anymore because of these four reasons. Got it? Now the question is, when he wanted to establish a peace, so he wanted to spread his message around the kingdom, and because the kingdom was too large and there was a large transportation of people and the goods throughout the kingdom, so he wanted to establish a permanent messages on pillars, on walls, on stone, so that the passers and the people could understand the meaning of his message and could follow them. Okay, and also he used several languages like Prakrit, like Brahmi, okay, and like Greek and Aramaic. Okay, so he used three languages to publish his message. Prakrit was basically for Eastern regions. For Eastern regions, because Prakrit was language of people in eastern areas of the India on that time. So that's why he used Prakrit language. Brahmi was basically for northwestern and central path. For central and northwestern regions, he used Brahmi. Okay, but Greek Aramaic was basically for far western areas, or you can say the present area of Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan also. Okay, so he used three languages: Prakrit for eastern regions, Brahmi for northwestern and central parts, and Greek and Aramaic for western areas. Got it? Now let's move forward. Major rock edit locations are Girnar, Dholi, Jugda, Shahbazgadi. Okay, so write down their names. First one is our Girnar, second one is our Dholi, third one is our Jugda, and the fourth one is our Shahbazgadi. Okay, so these were the prime locations of these rock edicts. Got it? Now let's move forward. Okay, so first we have the pillar edicts. The pillar edicts are inscriptions found on freestanding stone pillars erected by the Ashoka across his empire. Okay, so they are basically like this shape. A large rock pillars or stone pillars, okay, on which messages are embedded. Embedded, you can say. Okay, on which his messages are embedded. So these were the rock inscriptions. Okay, and the second thing which I had told you, okay, these edicts are often found at the important crossroads and public places, making them easily accessible to the wide audience. Okay, he did not stand them randomly anywhere. He particularly and primarily chose the prime locations. He chose the prime locations to put these edicts there. Okay, mainly the crossroads and the public places, so that large number of people could easily access these rock edicts and could understand what Ashoka wanted to say. Okay, they discuss various aspects of governance such as social welfare, religious tolerance, and the promotion of dharma. Okay, governance simply means king policies, the policies adopted by king for the people of this nation. Okay, particularly the Mauryan Empire. Okay, people of the Mauryan Empire. Then also about the social welfare. Okay, various donations, land grants, housing, and other welfare programs which were funded by the state government, or you can say the ruler directly. These were mentioned at the pillars. Okay, and religious tolerance, because on that time Buddhism, Jainism were at peak along with the Hinduism. Along with the Hinduism. Okay, so they were people from various areas. So that's why Ashoka want them all to live peacefully together. Got it? And there was a promotion of dharma. Now the question is, what do you mean by the dharma? Okay, what is the meaning of dharma here, or oftenly known as the Ashoka dharma? Ashok dharma, primarily known as the Ashoka dharma. Let's write down the Ashok's dharma or dharma. Okay, so basically Ashok dharma was comprised several points. Ashoka dharma. The first point is respect the elders. The first point was respect the elders. The second point was ahimsa or non-violence. Got it? The third point was believe good deeds would bring happy life in next birth. The fourth point was respect all the religions. The fifth point was respect Brahmins, Christ, and preachers. Okay, so these were the components of the Ashok dharma. First, he said that we should respect the elders. Okay, second point, he said that we should be ahimsa or non-violent people. Okay, third point, he said good deeds would bring happy life in the next birth. Like generally saying that if you have done good in this life, you will have a good life in your next birth. Okay, similar thing was written in the Ashoka dharma. Fourth thing, he said that respect all the religions should be our priority. And the fifth point, he said respect Brahmins, priests, and the preachers of the religions. Okay, so these were the components of the Ashoka dharma. Now let's move forward. Now we have the rock edicts. In the previous one, we had discussed about the pillar edicts. Now we are going to the rock edicts. So basically, the rock edicts were inscribed on natural rock surfaces, typically near river banks and the hillsides. Okay, just suppose if this is a hill. Okay, this is a hill and this is the road, and that are the peoples who are passing by it. Okay, so he generally inscribed the inscription on that areas. Okay, so whosoever will pass this road from hillside, will pass this road from the hillside, will read this inscription and will get the teachings of these inscriptions. Okay. He also used the river banks area because lots of people from outer areas will come from their side. Okay. So that's why he also used riverside areas and river banks areas. Got it? They deal with the similar themes as the pillar edicts but are longer and more detailed in their content. Okay. Similarly, rock edicts and the pillar edicts were initially used for the propagation of the Ashokan's ideas and Ashokan's beliefs. But the rock edicts are more elaborate in comparison with pillar edicts. Okay. So you can say the rock edicts are more elaborate in comparison with the pillar edicts. Got it? Now, the third point is Ashoka's rock edicts also express remorse for the suffering caused during the Kalinga War and his subsequent conversion to the Buddhism. Okay. So basically you can say whatsoever he saw, he found, and he listened from the people, from the minister, from the army commanders during the Kalinga War left a great impact on the thinking of the Ashoka, and he also used the rock edicts to express his remorse, his sorrow and his regret for the Kalinga War and devastating damages which were causing during this war. Okay, so he used this rock edicts in more detail to show his sorrow, and also he mentioned that what were the factors through which he converted into the Buddhism. Okay, so he used rock edicts in this form also. Now let's move forward. Now we have the minor rock edicts and the inscriptions. Apart from the major edicts, Ashoka also issued several minor rock edicts and inscriptions provide insight into his governance and policy. Okay. So beside the major, like this one, this is the major ones. Okay. Now this one, this is also the major ones. They are basically on the crossroads, highways. Okay. Then you say hillside. Then you say near the river banks. Okay. So these major edicts were at these areas, whereas the minor edicts were at the town areas, streets, and small areas where the publics are moved here and there. Okay. So he also tried to establish the minor rock edicts so that his philosophy, his ideas could be propagated to the people. Okay. Now let's move forward. The inscriptions of Ashoka's successor. What do you mean by the successor? The descendants. Okay. If this is a person, the persons who were there before him were the ancestors. The persons who will be there after him is the descendants. Okay. So in this scenario, if this person is Ashoka, then his ancestors were Chandragupta Maurya. Okay. Then Bindusara. And his descendant was Dashrath. Okay. Remember, this Dashrath was Dashrath Maurya. He was not the father of Rama. Okay. So just make the difference. Do not get confused. Okay. So, such as his grandson Dashrath Maurya. these inscriptions continued the tradition of publicizing royal proclamation and the inscriptions. Okay, so the same policy which was adopted by the Ashoka, okay, to promulgate his ideas, to promulgate his views, policies, so that the local people would have the clear understanding of the ruler mindset, royal family decisions. Okay, similar concept was continued by his descendants or successors like the Dashrath, who was the grandson of Ashoka. These inscriptions had the royal proclamation, what the royal had decided to the people, how it will impact the people, what are the good opportunities in this. All these things are mentioned on these inscriptions. Okay, now let's move forward. Bilingual and multilingual inscriptions were used. Okay, to ensure the wider reach, Ashoka had some of his edict translated into other languages such as Greek, Aramaic, and Prakrit. Okay, because the area where he generally lived, means the near area of Pataliputra, were having the language Prakrit. So he used Prakrit there. Okay, the Greek and Aramaic, which were used for far western areas where people are not understood to understand the Prakrit and Brahmi language. Okay, so he used Greek and Aramaic. So basically you can say he used bilingual and multilingual inscriptions to reach the more and more people and to propagate his policies freely. Now let's move forward. The administrative and religious impact. Mauryan inscriptions provide evidence of Ashoka's administrative because they contains the royal proclamations. Okay. Thereafter, the religious policies because it is for the religious brotherhood. Okay. Then also including his efforts to promote Buddhism, also support charitable activities and the appointment of the officials to oversee his dharma policy. So all these things were mentioned on these inscriptions. Got it? Now let's move forward. Preservation. The durability of stone inscriptions has allowed many Mauryan inscriptions to survive to the present day. Okay. So basically you can say the technology used in these inscriptions were able to preserve these inscriptions for a long duration so that even today, after many years, not ago, after many years, still are able to study these inscriptions. Okay, now let's move forward to study these inscriptions. Okay, so students, now we have finished about the Ashokan inscription. In the next lecture, we will continue with the Gupta inscriptions and some related points. Till then, thank you.